Hello?
Hello, Jughead. This is Archie. Come over right away. It's a matter of life or death.
Oh, relax, Archie.
Attention, all true believers. Marvel Comics is on the air.
The friend of the unfortunate, enemy of criminals. In reality, Dan Garrett, a rookie patrolman, loved by everyone but suspected by none of being the Blue Beetle.
Boys and girls, your attention, please. Presenting a new exciting radio program featuring the thrilling adventures of an amazing and incredible personality.
Faster than an airplane, more powerful than a locomotive, impervious to bullets.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman!
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, and welcome to Best Coast Comics. I'm Christopher, aka the Bronze Age Nerd, and I am joined by the legendary
Big B McFly, the comic guy.
That's him.
That's it.
As well as a bunch of legends here in the live chat, or that will be joining us shortly as soon as they see the live notification, I'm sure. Before I say hello to people that are in the chat, which we do every week, of course, I do want to take a second to just point out that we are streaming on multiple channels. If you're watching for the first time, I want you to know that we're simulcasting on my channel. I'm Bronze Age Nerd, as I said earlier. We're also streaming live over on Big B McFly's channel, and we are live over on the EXP, which is a fantastic comic book related network with lots of live sale shows and comic book content and all kinds of fun stuff, original art, you name it. Links for all those channels are actually in the description below. So no matter where you're watching us right now, you can go check out the other channels, sub them up, and see some other great comic book content on the other channels. And we are going to say hello to the chat. But before I do that, there's one thing I have to, I have to acknowledge this. A lot of people went out and rocked the vote. And, hey, I was up for an award. A lot of people went out and voted for me. I really appreciate that. But in the end, I lost to a worthy and legendary competitor in the semifinals of January. And another person ended up being one of two people moving on in Son of Crom's comic book collector of the month and then / year, I think at the end of the year, contest that he's running right now. And that person is none other than Big Me McFly. Congratulations, dude.
I don't know what happened. I voted for you.
And I voted for you. We did the diplomatic thing there, the peaceable thing. But yeah, no, congratulations, dude. So the way that works is you and Colossus Collector are moving on to the year bracket, right?
I think there was some people that qualified from last year that already moved on. So
okay.
And then there's going to be every month, there's going to be a new group of people shaking out. And then also the people who were nominated again, will again have another rundown in October, I think. So
okay.
You'll be in there again in October.
Against a lot of people probably. But yeah, so I'll need that support if I'm going to be in there again so I can lose to Big B again in the final. No, congratulations, man. I was very pumped to see you move on, and I wish you luck in the final annual contest.
I was shocked. So
yeah, no, that's really cool.
It was close though. It was close.
Yeah, it was. I think you won decisively, but it was closer. At least it wasn't a blowout. Let's put it that way.
Right there we go.
I would have felt miserable. I would have been.
It was competitive.
Drinking heavily that night. It was competitive, yeah. Speaking of medals, we got to give out medals, and this is actually kind of interesting. We have this running competition between a couple of our viewers to be the first to comment, which is amazing. We love it. GT Key Comic is always first, and at least on my chat, which is what I see when I log into it, might be different on different channels. I see Richard first, and he says second place, but I see him first. He beat at least on my chat, he beat GTK Comic by 10 minutes. 7:12
Yeah,
p.m.
I've
versus
got him.
7:22.
I've got him in there first, also. Yeah, by 10 minutes.
So I think, if we're playing by our kind of claim sale or auction rules that we've used in the past, I'm going to have to give it to Richard Westfall as first place. The weekly Sydney Sweeney Roy Thomas Award goes to Richard Westfall. And then we got GTK Comic coming in. We love both of those people for coming in here nice and early and giving us those comments. And we love everybody who's joining us, like Psycho Phil. What's up, Psycho Phil?
Hey.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Got Derek in here as well. Love to see it.
Hey, Derek.
What is up? This actually might be kind of a shorter show, and I say that knowing that now we're going to go for about 3 or 4 hours. See, now GTK Comic, that's what I said after I lost to Bigby. No, I'm just kidding. He won fair. He got his supporters to come out, and mine had weekend shopping to go do, which is totally fine. Lords of Brooklyn, how's it going? Salute to you as well. So great. So we are going to get into that, but it's kind of a shorter show. Our main topic that we're going to talk about later in the night is sort of this idea, if you watched our last show, which, by the way, sorry, I wasn't feeling good yet again. I'm kind of dealing with your kids in kindergarten picking up all the gross bugs and passing it to the entire family. And my wife works at a place where she's exposed to a lot of stuff as well. And it just kind of doesn't work out that very well this time of year, apparently. So sorry for the illness last week. But the last time you saw us live, we talked about our favorite pickups and some of our favorite moments from 2024. In this conversation, we're going to talk about kind of what 2024 informed for us, and maybe what some of our goals are for 2025, just kind of as a New Year's resolution, comic book collecting kind of a thing. So we're a little later into January, but it's our first time where we've had a chance to talk about that. So I think that's going to be really, really exciting. So, I see. Yeah, I think that you're barking up the right tree. What's up, Click? Good to see you there. So I think it's gonna be a really fun conversation. We do have a couple news items, kind of ranging in seriousness to talk about, and then we're going to talk about kind of the definitive final update on the community art contest. Finally got the ball ready to roll for that, so it's all going to start tomorrow, and I can show off the bracket and the first posts that are going to go up tomorrow and all that fun stuff. So we'll talk about that as well. Just a fun reminder. If you have art, please send it to us, because we haven't actually had, as far as I know, we haven't had a 2025 submission yet. I don't think.
I've got some stuff that's been rolling in, but I thought we were working on the.
Totally, yeah. No reason to even show it.
I'm storing it. It's ready. I'll just blast it at you.
You'll send it to me like 10 minutes before the show next week.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect. Just some playful behind the scenes chat there, but. Speaking of non-playful behind the scenes chat, I think we should talk about our first news story, which is just unfortunate for retailers, comic book shops across the country that they've been dealing with ongoing issues with Diamond. So we're going to talk about this. Update comes to us from Bleeding Cool. We have an update from Diamond regarding some of the issues they've been having. This is especially interesting to me because we do have a shop that we're pretty close to here on Best Coast Comics, especially somebody who's been a follower of mine for a long time, who's actually quoted in this article. So I thought that was really kind of bumped it up to the next level, where I really wanted to make sure to take a second to read that part of it. What's up, Comic Ozzy? Welcome to the show. Hey, you got Comics Limited as well. Love to see it. Yeah. Speaking of the community art contest. Oh, hey. Before I do that, I should take a sip from my mug, which was a sweet Christmas present.
Wow, I like it.
Yeah, special thanks to my sister-in-law and her boyfriend.
You pulled that down just a little bit. You look like a chibi version of yourself. It's
kind of hard to get it over the beard, but yeah, it's pretty close.
Right.
My favorite thing about this is at the very bottom inside. If you get to the bottom, it says "Hey Bub," which is pretty cool. That's cool. Kind of an action balloon. So yeah, unfortunately, going back to the less exciting stuff. So for those that haven't been following what's going on here, Diamond has had a lot of delays, and they finally kind of stepped out and addressed some of those delays, or at least attempted to address some of those delays. I don't know that the answer was satisfactory for a lot of shops, or basically customers from Diamond. And I guess before I even say that, we have to kind of go, one step further back and talk about Diamond in set the scene about the history of this, which is that Diamond has been losing market share. Diamond has been,
Right.
they used to be you could say the monopoly almost, or the only player in town for distribution for many years. I know, like back when Big was a retailer, Diamond was pretty much your only comic distributors that you dealt with, I think, right?
Yeah, that was the only way you could get Marvel and DC and all the big players, Image and everything else. So you had to go through Diamond. They actually got sued for having a monopoly at one point. So
exactly. Hey, shout out to Sycotron. What's up? Good to see you, man. So drinking some kind of it's adamantium laced serum. Actually, it's kind of if you don't like biting into tinfoil because of your fillings, this is even worse. Let's put it that way. You're gonna crack a tooth for sure. Hopefully that healing factor kicks in soon.
Dripping that X23 vial in there.
Okay, you got my attention again. X23 definitely more interesting. I'm not going to go there. But yeah, so we've got Diamond, kind of was the only player in town. Lunar comes on the scene. DC kind of infamously, goes with Lunar. They've got some other publishers with them now. But also you have Penguin Random House, who got Marvel, and now they have a couple other publishers with them. And really, at this point, I'd say Diamond has the minority of publishers out there. There's still some big publishers that are with Diamond, but by big, I would actually call them, really, to be honest, more medium-sized independent publishers.
Right.
So what this article talks about is a public statement from Chris Powell, the chief sales and service officer of Diamond's owner, Jeppy Family Enterprises. And we could read the whole thing here. I will say that my summary of this when I read it is that it just isn't. It might very well be true, and it might very well be the reason things are the way they are, but I think it also speaks to a higher level of disorganization than I was expecting from a statement like this. Like, I would expect this to be more cut and dry, but it kind of goes so far as to, there was no true information to share in that time period. I was pleased to receive a status update from our operations team yesterday and to learn of some forward momentum going into this new week. That, I don't know, I just would think that as a chief sales and service officer, you wouldn't really be relying on a status update to make this announcement. You would be constantly involved in that conversation, I would think, to the point where I'm sure you're getting constant updates, not just one update that kind of it's just the wording struck me as kind of like, well, my hands were tied. I couldn't say anything, and now I can. But I think you could have addressed a lot of this beforehand. That's just my opinion and my read on it. So a lot of this revolves around them shutting down their Plattsburgh location. Some information I have on that, some of which, I don't know how much I can share. Some of it I feel kind of comfortable saying that it was not something they had a lot of heads up notice on. I think that's what I'll say from what I've been able to uncover. I don't know if that's like public information or not, but it's what I've heard through sources I have, without going into too fine of details. So that can suck, right? Like if you've got a distribution center and you're a distributor, that's going to be a huge problem for you. If your location suddenly has to shut down, you suddenly have to move inventory. And that's a bigger deal than it sounds like, because you have to create your process for how you're going to stage that inventory, your process for how that inventory is going to come in, it'd be received and accounted for, and how it's going to be, going out. That's going to cause problems. I do understand that part of that, but that's what we already knew. Like, that's old information at this point. So really things like, some weather delays are getting blamed here. Their process is, when they talk about it, it just seems kind of elementary to me. Like, we deal with a much wider selection of products, both print and non-print. And that's true. Diamond does handle, they're not just doing comic books. They're doing, if you look through a previews magazine and you see the statues and the toys and you see the all that kind of stuff that's in there. that isn't just comic books. That's true. They do also have to ship that. That's a little bit different beast than only shipping out comic books or magazines and that kind of stuff. So I give them some credit for that, but that's something, again, that's not anything new for Diamond. They've been doing that for a very long time, right? So
yeah, no, that's yeah, they've always been pretty broad spectrum of stuff that they carry. But yeah, I mean, losing their Plattsburgh warehouse is a big deal. I mean, that was very centrally located. It was right next to a UPS hub.
Yeah.
So I know that's a big blow to them. So, but I remember almost every year, wintertime, you're dealing with storm delays, holiday delays, sometimes getting 2 and 3 shipments in 1 week, and so you'd be missing shipments, and all of a sudden you get 3 weeks worth of books in 1 week. It makes it difficult.
Absolutely. And I know this is kind of it's just a very basic article to read, so I'm kind of trying to show you guys the interesting parts as I can here. But they go on to say that the other distributor, they deal with that more than other distributors. This is their process. Retailers who are furthest away from the center are picked first, then the next furthest, then the next, etc. As they are picked, they are packed and then handed off to trucking companies for delivery. Then the process begins again. I'm not like a logistics expert. But I've done some logistics before. Explaining this process in this way is just like, I guess I'm trying not to be too demeaning here. This just comes across as extremely basic to me. Like, of course, you're trying to get orders out that are going to go the furthest distance first because they're going to take longer to reach their destination. That's again, elementary is the best word I can think of. It's like shipping 101.
It's an interesting thing though. Like, I wonder, like, so does that mean like the furthest away shops got like when a book gets recalled, the furthest away shops would get the books before they get recalled, whereas like the closer ones, like that one, what was the Baby in the Microwave issue, whatever, right? That one got recalled right away. So like some of the books that squeak out the door go to those furthest away shops. That's an interesting thought I never thought of. Like,
yeah. But then again, they take longer to arrive. So in theory, if you're operating at full hum, then some of those orders aren't really arriving much later than the ones that are going out, that are going to your neighbors, theoretically.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying that like the farther away shops get things that are either short allocation or are recalled but preferentially, almost not really by default, almost like preferentially, they're getting things that other shops might not get a shot at.
They might not, but again, like if they're doing it correctly, then I don't know that that's necessarily true, because most of that time, that the lead time that you're thinking of is usually on a truck somewhere, so it's not really like real.
Oh no, I'm not saying they get it earlier. I'm just saying that they would get it, whereas other shops might not get it. When something gets recalled,
the later orders might not go out.
Yeah, because the shops are further away, the odds are that they would get something that got like, oh, don't send that out.
Yeah, I gotcha. Oh no, that makes sense. I see what you're saying. By the way, quick shout out to Awesome Sauce Radio. Join us up in there. Glad to see you. We were just talking about some fun Diamond stuff here. Fun being sarcastic. But yeah, I mean, they're talking about their process. I mean, that at the end of the day, a quick shout out to John too while I'm checking the chat here. This process is not working as it needs to, obviously, but modifying it takes time. That also makes sense. Ideally, changes would have been planned and tested while we continue to operate as we had been at Plattsburgh, with that no longer an option. And again, from my understanding, that was on very short notice, so they didn't have the opportunity to plan for that. They must make changes and test them out with live data and shipments while trying to minimize the impact on retailers. We're considering many options. Again, they're considering many options. They're looking at live data. This to me isn't really an update of anything that is majorly explaining why things happened, which again, ostensibly is what the point of this was. And it isn't really telling anybody what they're going to do differently. It's telling us that we're looking into it. That's the part that got me. And and that could, again, maybe I'm being overly negative looking at this, but I know this is a huge problem. And I'm looking at this, by the way, maybe more from the perspective of, it makes me worry if Diamond's going to be around much longer, because
Right.
I know, like, Comics Limited is talking about a comic shop that's massive here in the Northwest. I'm pretty sure that's the Chris he's referring to, not Chris Powell, who is leaving Diamond.
Yeah.
A lot of shops are leaving Diamond now that were exclusively to Diamond. A lot of people didn't switch over from Diamond because that it was too hard for them to switch. They're used to it.
Their routine.
Exactly.
They stuck with Diamond, even though it meant they were getting some of their Marvel and DC books later. They stuck with Diamond. Now they're going to be like, screw this noise. Yeah.
Hey, Comics Embraced. Hey. I'm 99% sure you're, by the way, hello. But I just saw you in chat while you're there. I'm 99% sure, unless I'm mixing up your name, I believe you're one of the two people I never heard from with shipping information for your Heroes for Heroes items. If I'm so sorry if I have the wrong person and I'm just, my brain's not firing correctly there, but I'm pretty sure you're one of the two people. If you can hit me up, my Discord server on Instagram, you can email me. It's thebronzeagenerd@gmail.com. Any Facebook, any way you want to hit me up, just give me your shipping information. I would love to get your comics out to you. So I would appreciate that, assuming you're the right person. If you're not, hello and welcome to the show.
If not, hey.
Yeah, like Derek says here, might as well say that we put orders in boxes and then very carefully put individual address labels on respective boxes.
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that mute didn't work correctly. Sorry for that.
You muted before you coughed, and then you
the one thing I don't like about this newer microphone I have is it's a capacitive button for muting. And so I have a tendency sometimes if I tap it, it'll kind of double tap and turn right back on. So I was trying to cough all discreetly there. Still kind of getting over the last parts of my cold. I'm 99% fine. It's just I have a little lingering cough, which is what I said last time, and I got sick 2 weeks later. But here's the last thing I want to read about this, and we'll kind of move on. Okay. So this is Route 66 Comics, which is a awesome store in Sapulpa, Oklahoma. The guy who runs it, he goes by Boba Fett, not Boba Fett, but Boba Fett. He's a huge Star Wars fan, and he's kind of almost an expert in Star Wars lore, especially the comics. Really cool guy. He actually is the store manager of this location. And he reported to media outlets like Bleeding Cool here, as well as to Diamond, by the way. He also contacted Diamond. He wasn't just, complaining or anything like that. But he did have to point this stuff out. I wanted to read this because Route 66 Comics, friend of the channel. In fact, so much that if you watch their Whatnot streams, you will see a Bronze Age Nerd t-shirt on the stream rather often, which is pretty cool. So just a huge shout out to them. A lot of shops here are talking about their experiences. But he says, to all our customers regarding books from publishers distributed by Diamond, these currently include Boom Studios, Zenoscope, Dynamite, Massive, etc. For the last 2 months, shipments have been late. When the shipments do arrive, it's a toss-up on if these are in acceptable condition to sell. Unfortunately, this week's Diamond shipment, which had a small amount of new books and some replacements, was completely damaged. Think about that. A small amount of new books and replacements for books that were previously damaged arrived damaged. And I have seen this story from other shops. This is not an isolated incident by any stretch of the imagination. Mm-hmm. Every single book, they say. This is making it very difficult to get titles you want into your hands on time. We want to apologize for that. We are dedicated to getting you the books you want as quickly and in the best condition as possible. So,
been there, done that.
Yeah. And that's a very familiar story with Diamond. And look, I'm not just picking on Diamond. I know when Penguin Random House first started shipping Marvel books, there was huge problems with damages for the first few months. Mm-hmm. I've heard generally good things about Lunar, but I know Lunar also has, sent out damaged books plenty of times as well too. There are, I say this so often on this channel, it's not just the mistakes you make. It's how you react to those mistakes. It's how you try to fix those mistakes. And those companies have done a better job trying to fix those mistakes from what I've seen. So
yeah, they've listened to what people have had to say and made changes to the way that they ship the books, so that they're more safely getting into the people's hands. Yeah, I have to say, like, I remember it sucks when you get like your 1 in 50 or your 1 in 100 variant cover and it comes in damaged, and then they're like, nope, there's no replacement.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, there's a retailer that I don't, just in case I have the wrong retailer, I won't say their name, but they were talking publicly about how like a 1 in 100 ratio that they were waiting for was shipped with like in a large box with like 10 other comics. And I can't remember if it was trades or some larger kind of hardcover or something like that, but it was a box that was like 5 times too big with like no extra padding. Well, that ratio, don't picture it being in a bag and board. Sometimes that happens, very rarely and sporadically, but almost never. It's usually just a book in a box,
just in a pile with all the other books.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Comics Embraced says he'll reach out. Must have forgotten. Had some issues taking care of my mother. Well, hey, I completely understand. You have nothing to worry about from me. I'm just like sitting here frantically, like making sure that I didn't miss some communication from you to get you your book. When we do Heroes for Heroes, there's a lot of shipping that has to go out. I was lucky to have Comics Limited really help me out big time. Had some help from Big B too, of course. But last year it was all me. This year it was stressful. It was art going out. It's mixed types of items, which is really difficult to ship, just like I was just talking about, because we take a lot of time and patience to make sure our items arrive, intact, and we don't want anything damaged. But very sorry to hear about your situation. Hopefully everything's doing better now. You are in no trouble there whatsoever. I just want to make sure you get your stuff. And I was so happy to see you jump in, because there's you and one other person that I've kind of been taking the time to talk about every time we've streamed, and I'd almost given up hope that I'd touch base with you. So I'm really happy to see you there, and hopefully things are going better. Thanks again, man. Thanks again, Comics Limited. So yeah, basically distribution. It's a problem. Also, thank you again, Big B, but you didn't leave a comment in the chat. So that
Oh no, it's all good. I was waving the trap.
Okay.
No, distribution. Getting books from one place to another without getting damaged is always hard. So.
Yeah, and I mean distribution. Take any product you want, take any type of shipping procedure you want, whether it's truck, plane, long haul versus coming from a delivery driver across town. There's issues from top to bottom that can happen with every shipping service. So some of those errors are to be expected. I just I think, like a lot of people in comic books, I worry about comic book retailers. I worry about the backbone of the comic book hobby.
Right.
And that includes distributors too. So I'm not just saying it's, I don't want Diamond to fail. I want Diamond, I want Lunar, I want Penguin Random House to all be in that space, giving better rates because they're trying to compete with each other, to different publishers, delivering better comics in better conditions to collectors. All those things are good for the hobby. So that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I'll just use the StreamYard button for muting if I need to cough. Before I move on to the next news topic, of course, if anybody has anything to say in chat about this, I'll definitely tackle it after I get in talking about this one thing real fast. I do want to talk about, I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the stream that we are streaming not only on myself and Big B's channels, but also over on the EXP channel, not just on YouTube, by the way. You can go watch them on Facebook, Instagram. You can check them out over on Twitch. All those fun places you can go see that kind of content where you get extra comic book content from all these great places. They have tons of shows each week. A couple of those shows are coming up tomorrow. And since we're the last show on Monday night, I want to talk about tomorrow's shows. For Tuesday, you do get Minute to Skim It. Minute to Skim It is basically, I'll give you the quick 20-second review of Minute to Skim It, because that is what they do. They take the comic books that are coming out for New Comic Book Day, at least a lot of them, a lot of the interesting ones, and they talk about, hey, I looked through this really fast. The art looks great. The story is, meh. Kind of gives you an idea, right, of like whether or not you want to read that book. And it goes into more detail than that. I'm doing a bad job of explaining it, but they might talk about how oh, the story reminds me of these old comic books, or the art reminds
if you
me of
like
this
this,
artist.
you might like that, or
Exactly.
if you're not a fan of this, you might not want to check this out.
Yeah, so it's a really good show. It does start at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. So you definitely want to go check that out tomorrow on the EXP. Our producer on this show, Jay, is backstage right now. He's one of the people that will be walking you through the books. Also, my old co-host from Devil's Advocates, Kyle, is going to be on there, as well as Jen from Space Cadet Comics too. So you definitely want to go see what's going on with Minute to Skim It. It's one of my favorite shows on the EXP. I personally end up watching it if I want to figure out what's going on with comic books. So you probably should too, and check it out. So
Kyle is one of the Minutemen.
Yeah, that's awesome. Before I move on to our next story, though, and talk about a couple things, I do want to make sure I didn't have a chance to say hi to Renegade Rants Comics. So I wanted to get a chance to do that as well. And then did I miss anybody else? I don't think so. Yeah, damage replacements are the ultimate slap in the face. 100%, Derek. It's bothersome.
Yeah,
it's bothersome. Derek says this just gives more credence to cutting the middleman, similar to crowdfunding campaigns where the publisher ships direct and can control quality and packaging. And you actually just reminded me, something I probably should. I didn't. There's not really a news release per se to talk about, which is sometimes how I kind of save the different links for the show, and that's kind of how I remember the topics. That's a really good talking point, actually. There was a big announcement from Coffin Comics. Coffin Comics, who does like Lady Death, and they have a couple other major characters now that come out that people are really interested in. I think Lady Death's what they're most known for, so that's kind of how I kind of usually go to. They do their own Kickstarters, and they've been doing them for years, and they're wildly successful. They are, I don't know if they're fully moving to another system, or they're at least testing a system where they're basically doing their own crowdfunding campaign, and they're taking it off the Kickstarter platform and doing it on their own new platform. I don't know all the details. I would have, again, probably would research it a little bit more, but I'm just aware of it going on. And that is pretty interesting, talking about taking out the middle person with like Kickstarter, for example. Interesting to see.
Because of my dinosaur, I remember Marvel did have their own distributorship, and it was pretty horrendous. It was a disaster.
Okay. So they had their own direct distribution for shops. Yes.
For a short period of time, there was a Marvel distribution, and it was bad.
So was that the early to mid 80s then?
It was right when everything started falling apart from all the multiple distributors and everything. And that when they couldn't hack it, that's when everything went to Diamond. Everything just went down to one.
Okay. Not because I knew that it had to be like in the early days of the direct program existing at all. It had to be directly from the publisher, but then I figured that at some point it probably would go to a middle person, But
yeah, there were early on there, right when I first started, during the comic boom, there were a lot of distributors that carried Marvel and DC as well. But then the crash and everything else caused everything to come and funnel down to the sole survivor of being, Diamond.
So, okay. I gotcha. Interesting.
Yes. Awesome sauce. That's it.
Marvel bot Heroes World. Okay. A couple comments talking about the Coffin Kickstarter. Awesome Sauce says they're doing their own system. It's their own version of Kickstarter. The one thing I didn't know is if they were going to allow other, independent publishers to release through their system, or if it was only going to be Coffin product. So it's gonna be interesting to see.
Oh, there you go. He's even got the years down. Awesome Sauce says. There we go.
World in 1995, and that's when Diamond took over everything else in 1986. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh man.
I think we're in an interesting time. I think like 95, 96 was a period of evolution for distribution. And it's going to be interesting to see how things evolve. Like we've always talked about, like the concerns about the crowdfunding, Kickstarter, that kind of thing, where direct to the consumer, and which skips the retailer, and we're worried about the retailer losing that piece of the pie. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see how things evolve. It's going to be different.
Yeah, definitely gonna be different. And I think that we've definitely, like, anybody can publish their own book, and not to just use Amazon, but you can release it on Amazon as an ebook, right? Like, as well as a lot of other places, but that's a really popular thing to do.
Right.
We see, I think, more and more of that happening with independent creators in general, where it's always been an option since the indie boom in the 80s, where you publish your own comic book. But I think it's gotten to a point where it's even easier to do that now than ever. It's not, there's been no extra barriers. Getting your comic book to a wide market can still be difficult, but that can be difficult even for big companies. So,
well, I was speaking more to the effect of like larger companies where they're doing like exclusives and that kind of stuff that aren't available to the standard shops and stuff. And so it kind of, I don't know. There was a whole thing about that with cards with Wizards of the Coast, where they're doing these special cards that you can only get direct from them. It's these secret layer cards and stuff, and it's like, and they know which cards are the most expensive, and they can oh, this is $100 card. Well, it only costs them like 3 cents or 2 cents to print it. So
yeah. Yeah. It's where's that value coming from?
Right.
And I mean, it's a little different, but you see similar things with like the Marvel trading card packs of comic books that were coming through Whatnot, right? Like, granted, they're not directly releasing that; they're going through Whatnot as an exclusive, but they're making it a thing that that's the avenue you have to go down if you want to get it. They're doing their Infinity comic books on Marvel Unlimited, which are not available at print, that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, like I said, it's an interesting evolution that we're going through right now. It'd be interesting to follow along and see how it all shakes out.
Definitely. So the next thing we're going to talk about, this is a serious topic. Not really issuing like a trigger warning here necessarily, but it does deal with some very serious stuff. And we talked about it before the show. We both agreed to talk about it a little bit. I hate to say it, but we're going to talk about it in a way that says this is why we're not really going to talk about it in detail, if that will make sense here in a little bit. A while ago, we mentioned it on the show. A while ago, Neil Gaiman was accused of some sexual misconduct, some sexual assault. And sorry, excuse me 1 second. And so more has come out about that. This is actually a Variety article I'm about to pop up here, but it relates to a New York Times kind of, I guess you could say, expose that came out about this. And really what it's done is it's talked to some of the victims. They talked to some of the victims. More details will come out about some I want to say payoffs, some settlements that, kind of NDA settlements that have come out about this. So essentially, to some extent, this is kind of nothing strictly new, because we've known for a while that these are the accusations. Where Bigby and I kind of fall on this is we are going to mention, that this is what the current news is on this situation. We're not going to talk about it forever, and we're probably not going to go heavily into it because at a certain point, Neil Gaiman is still vehemently refuting some of these allegations. And unless we have like a final legal proceeding, it's kind of not really our place to say who's right, who's wrong, that kind of thing. But it's impossible to ignore the situation. That's kind of where we're at. Does that seem fair?
Yeah. We're not completely in the loop, and it's not fair to, I mean, like we were saying backstage, this kind of stuff is serious and should be taken seriously, but yeah, we don't want to be spreading stuff that we don't know enough about. So
yeah. And just to, because some people do want to hear the nitty gritty on this stuff and some people don't. I'm not going to read necessarily the individual things that are accused in here. However, safe to say that a lot of it involves BDSM. A lot of it involves some pretty graphic stuff. If you do want to read about that, I highly recommend going to either it's behind a paywall, but you can go check out the New York Times article, or this Variety article I'm linking to has all that in here as well. If you're kind of curious, what the actual specifics of those are. Essentially, the allegations are from several women that were close to the family, nanny / babysitter relationships with the family. There are, some mentions in here of one woman who she was offered, I believe, a $5,000 offer to sign an NDA and move off the property. She ended up asking for a larger sum of $300,000, to which Neil Gaiman agreed. His representatives told New York Magazine that the woman in this particular instance had initiated the sexual encounters, and the other thing that there's a theme in the two accounts that they go deep into detail on. The allegations involve Neil Gaiman's son being in the room. So it gets an extra level of weird. In both cases, he didn't, his attorney is the one rebutting this, says that those are deplorable things to say and that they're not true. But that is what is outlaid here. So the other thing I would, point out is, like I said, there is some BDSM. I think the article on the New York Magazine was actually, I think it was titled "The Master." I think that was the name of the article, because apparently that's what he wanted to be called during these situations. So that's where we're at with this. As far as what is out there is in terms of the allegations, in terms of, again, I could go through point by point, read all the details. Just as easy to go read the article yourself. Some of it we don't really want to talk about on the show, because we are kind of trying to be as much as possible an all ages show, or at least a PG-13 show. These are very serious things. We're not making light of them by a stretch of the imagination. Go read about it. But we don't know the definitive truth of the situation. I'll just tell you how I personally feel about it. It's similar to how when the allegations came out, it rings of enough truth that I probably feel he's probably guilty of at least some of this behavior, some of which is very alarming. And it is one of those things that I've had to kind of do over and over again in my life, which is not get too close to your heroes as far as, holding them up, because you may be sorely disappointed in some of their actions later on. Luckily, I do try to separate art from artist, but at the same time, we don't know the full truth. That's kind of where I'm at with it. These things are tough, and they're really brutal when you have somebody that you really hold in a high regard that, becomes accused of some of these things. I'll say that Neil Gaiman is on a very short list of people that I hope that would never happen to. Like if Stephen King is another one, for example, is another like literary hero of mine that I'd never want to read anything like that about. Because it is brutal to have it happen and be faced with. You just want them to be a cool person, but that's not always the case. So that's how I feel about it. I don't know if you want to say anything else on top of that, Big B.
No, I don't feel like I'm well enough versed in what's going on to really speak too much to the topic. So it's like, yeah, like you said, just disturbing to be reading what's going on with it. So
yeah. Lords of Brooklyn, I don't know enough about the whole Whisper Network thing to tell you in the ins and outs on that. You probably know more than I do. And I know some people that probably know more than I do that are in the comic space, but I don't really make a lot of conversations about that kind of stuff. So I don't know, but Awesome Sauce. If you want to do an adults only show with you, just let you know. If we specifically market it that way, I might be interested in that. Awesome Sauce. We'll definitely have to talk. Yeah, like I try to make it pretty obvious when we're doing those kinds of things, but at the same time, it's like I think this information's out there. Definitely go read it. Definitely go make your own decisions on how you want to feel about it. And yeah, I think it's pretty serious stuff though. But yeah, let's see. So other news things that we are going to talk about Creature Commandos. However, we're going to talk about not like, we're not going to be like, and then this is the Easter egg, and then this happened, and then there's this. What it's not going to really be like that. But considering that some people probably aren't done with that show, we're going to push that to the end of the show. Just kind of give everybody one final chance to dip out if they don't want to hear that conversation. But we are going to talk about our reactions to it, a couple things that we were talking about a little bit. But yeah, it is definitely a cool show. That's all. I mean, that's the complete spoiler-free review from me. Cool show. And then we'll talk about it more in detail.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah. The next thing we're going to talk about, complete shift of topic. In the last show, I threatened to talk about an eBay purchase I made, kind of an eBay, basically following along on a lot of that's going for really low from the same seller, and they have a bunch of auctions ending on a Sunday, like within a 2-hour period. I just followed along, and I ended up scooping up some really cool stuff. So I'm going to show that off here in a minute. But before I go too far along, I really want to talk about where we're at with the community art contest. In the last show, we chose our finalists. We're down to the 12. It's actually 11, but we had to make it 12 to make a bracket system work. So one person was going to go up against Roy Thomas, because we all know he created everything, right?
Right.
So this was Big B's suggestion. I loved it. We decided to do it. It's hilarious. I drew up the bracket, and here I'll show you what I'm seeing on my screen here, so you guys can just see the bracket. So it made it. So I did a list of all the people. I randomized it 3 times, and 1, 2, 3, 4 were the 1 through 4 seed. So for the bracketing, Eddie Rodriguez gets a bye, CJ Design gets a bye, Scott Hasselwood gets a bye, and Roy Thomas got a bye. That guy's luck, dude. That is so funny.
By the way, Roy Thomas though is he loses automatically.
Yeah, if he doesn't lose automatically, then our audience isn't doing their job. Let's put it that way. But we had to get it. To make a bracket work. We didn't want a real human this is actually perfect, because we didn't really want a real human in the first round. Just automatically move forward. It's cool that everybody's going to have to actually compete here a little bit. Hey, what's up, Sean? How you doing? So the first round is going to be actual Dracula versus Ben Taz. Then we have Colossus.
That's a rough matchup. I looked at both of those pieces are really good pieces.
That's going to be a real slugfest there.
A slobber knocker.
Yeah. Colossus Collector versus Elliot Wright. Phil Tastic versus Norin Rad. And then Roscoe versus Comics Limited in the house here.
Oh.
So those are the first 4. I actually have the posts all done. Like there's a little graphic involved in it. Let's see if is this an easy way for me to share this? Let me see if this works without having to do a new screen share. There you go. So here's the Drac versus Ben Taz post is going to go up. So luckily this one worked out, because it's the black and white versus black and white. So it's going to be a little bit more fair there. Unfortunately, the next one, it didn't work out mathematically for us to do that every time, I don't think. And it was random seeding anyway. If I saw like a really terrible matchup, I would have done something about it, but I think all these are pretty good. We got Elliot Wright versus Colossus Collector. And so, I'm showing these just to show them. Tomorrow on our IGs, we'll do collaborative posts here. You'll be able to see these go up, and then in the comments, people will vote. We'll tally up the comments after a defined period of voting, and then we'll move on to the next round. This is Phil Tastic, Comics and Art, and Norin Rad. Very cool. And then the final one that's going up is one we just mentioned. And that is Roscoe versus Comics Limited.
True. I like both of those a lot.
Yeah. On a couple of these, it's gonna be a little blurry because I'm just taking a post I took from our Discord conversation because it was the easiest way to show these. They're high quality PNGs. A couple like the who was it? Bentaz versus Actual Dracula. I did modify a couple of the photos. And that was just because I wanted to get the contrast high enough that you could actually see like Ben's piece, so it wasn't washed out because it's black and white. I wanted to give it a little bit more ability to be seen by the audience. And I didn't really adjust too many things here, but a couple things I just kind of tweaked the lighting a little bit or whatever to make it look a little bit easier to see. But other than that, I mean, I think that they deserved a fair chance is what I'll say. But yeah, that's going to go up tomorrow. So check out our IG profiles for that. The voting will get started. Thanks to everybody who entered. I'm really excited to see where this goes. And of course, that's obviously not everybody because we got let's see, Eddie, CJ Design, and Scott Hasselwood, who and Roy Thomas, of course, who weren't even part of that. Speaking of Scott, real fast, I'll just show this off. He sent me his pieces from Heroes for Heroes, the community art stream. So I just want to show these real quick because they're cool. So I won 2 of the pieces. That's the first one.
Wow, that's cool. I like it.
Yeah.
Even better in person.
Yeah. Then this was my favorite of the 2 that I won. I love that one.
Yeah,
so much.
That one is awesome.
And then the one that he has in our contest was my actual favorite. Unfortunately, I didn't win that one, but I still love it.
That the flower, the one with the flower.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So Scott sent those. He also sent a little comic too that I'll show up on social when I make that post. Figure says that the Eisner should have separate categories for best physical cover artist and best digital cover artist.
That's an interesting idea.
It's an interesting topic for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, the physical form it's going to be becoming a lost art. So,
yeah, you can make that argument for sure, definitely. But yeah, so
Travis says, Roscoe, I'm coming for you.
I love it. So I guess I do want to just point this out real fast. I think this is important for me because we've gotten to a contest phase where it's actually starting tomorrow. Hopefully it would have started a little bit earlier, but just being sick really derailed everything. When it comes to this though, I hope this is supposed to be fun. I really hope. I know Comics Limited is kidding right there. I know that's well intentioned, but I also know that community art can be a charged topic, and I don't want anybody take it too seriously. The prize is just it's myself, Big B. If Comics Limited doesn't win, he's also going to kick in, I think, a sketch is what he said. And then Big B and I were talking. We're just starting to talk about we're going to say some really cool stuff. You're going to get a really cool prize package, or multiple ones or whatever. But that's all it's for. Everybody who entered, we appreciate. It's not like these are the special ones. That's why Big B and I aren't deciding who the winner is or anything like that. We're letting just votes on whoever sees the post decide who moves forward, that kind of thing. We did have to pick a piece from each person, but we did that with you, on the chat. You guys could kind of see all the submissions, and you guys had some say on which ones we picked a couple times. And I just want people to know we appreciate all of them. It's not to pit anybody against each other. This is to celebrate them. That's the whole point of this, and I hope it comes across that way.
Yeah.
So there will be blood. Yeah, I really like that second one a lot too.
This is really just more to spotlight the artists again, and to get people exposed to them and get people excited for it. And it's gonna be fun.
Definitely. So real fast, I'll show off. Actually, I guess before I even do that, I should tell you about our second show we have coming up on the EXP tomorrow on Tuesday. This is a different one. It's a different show than we've been talking about before. This is at 8 Central, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. It's Wonderland Comics. It's the Rich Davis show. And it's basically going to be like your comic book news show, essentially, is kind of as what I understand it. I haven't watched it yet, so I can't talk too much about it. But you guys can all tune in with me. We can watch it tomorrow. It was supposed to happen last week, but they were snowed out of being able to do it. So you can check it out tomorrow. And I'm curious to learn more about it. I've been hearing it pumped up a lot. I'm curious to see it. I always love it when a new show comes to the EXP because it's usually pretty exciting. So feel free to go check it out with me and Big B and everybody else. So come on and check it out. Okay, so I picked up some books on eBay. We don't normally do a lot of haul kind of things. I think this one was a little, this one was a little different. Plus, I also made the mistake of saying I'll do it, so I should probably do it.
You got to do it now. You're committed.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll make myself a little bit larger here. Nothing insane. Like I didn't pull like an FF #1 or any of that kind of stuff. First off, this actually is not related to this at all, but I just want to give a shout out to Zombie Prophet, who hit me up via DM to let me know that Midtown actually had these all-in DC specials, which this is the first appearance of the Absolute Batman and all the Absolute characters.
Oh wow, that's cool.
But these are signed, all three of them, by Scott Snyder, and it was it was cover price for all three books signed.
Wow,
so
that's awesome.
And they all have like the COA on the back and everything for Scott Snyder.
That's awesome.
So shout out to Zombie Prophet. I thought that was really neat of him to hit me up about that. He's like, hey, you might want to go pick these up, because I didn't actually have a copy. So I grabbed a couple. I do, I want to point this out before I show off some of these books.
Not all still available for people to order?
I don't know if they're still in stock. I ordered them about a week ago.
And where were they from?
Midtown.
Okay.
So go search and see if they're there. I'll try to post the link up in my Discord. I'll try to go through this relatively quickly because I don't want to slow the entire show to a crawl or whatever. But the rest of everything else I'm about to show is from one eBay seller. It's Sacto Sanctorum in California. I'll just tell you, you can go check them out, go follow them. I bought like a GI Joe #1 from them before. I knew they were a good shop, and I just I just hit the follow the seller button. And they do a lot of auctions on Sundays.
We got a question from Figure Drawing. Cover artists on those all.
Oh, I don't know who the cover artist was.
Okay.
I think this is the A cover, so it's
it looked really clean.
If you can read that, is it going to focus? Go for it.
Sam?
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
SAU Sanchez.
So I don't know who that is, but not off the top of my head. But I just started reading the Absolute
Travis
Batman.
Says Dan Mora. I'm not.
Oh, that is Dan Mora. That actually sounds right. It looks like his art.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
Comic Tropes. Hello.
Oh, hey, hello, Comic Tropes. Holy cow, that is awesome! I was just showing my daughter David Nakayama's artwork because she was super into some of the Fortnite loading screens that he's done. If you didn't know, David Nakayama does Fortnite loading screens.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he does some really cool ones, especially when they're launching a new character. He also does a lot of the Marvel Legends box art for the figures too.
Oh, cool.
So this is it's just some year 1 part 2 Batman goodness. So what's special about all this stuff? It was all cheap.
Show the covers. Come on now, don't just fan them. Some people might not know what those are.
I didn't want to turn every single one into a let's look at it.
Let's do it quick, but you can show. It's all right. They're beautiful.
Okay, so that's 405.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, man.
And that's 406, and then I got 407 as well. And it's a great story.
I love that 407 cover. Is awesome.
And that's the first young James Gordon Jr. As a baby.
First meeting of Gordon and Batman, right?
In the new in the new
storyline,
new storyline. And then one of them's the introduction of Selena Kyle. I think that's 405. I want to say, as Selena Kyle as Catwoman. Just they're cool books. I already got a set of them, the whole set of it. But look, I'm doing a show. We'll talk a little bit about my 2025 goals here coming up. I'm doing a show in spring, so some of these I was like, man, this is just good stuff to stock up on, because I don't have a lot of Batman to sell. I don't have a lot of indies to sell. I don't have a lot of Bronze Age to sell. So thank you very much for the correction there. I was worried I got that wrong. Wonderland Comics is a sales show. Rich Davis is a comic book writer as well as a store owner. You may know him from the Cult of Dracula series, which is a good series. Okay. Yeah. This was really cool. It's a fourth printing, but Chew number 1.
Very cool.
Fine. Yeah. I thought that was really neat. Signed by the
great book.
Yeah. And again, some of these are not things that I normally would have bought, but it was like, I couldn't turn him down. Had to get a nice little booty cover from Tim Seeley, really cool guy I've met before. Hack Slash,
great book.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. Everybody knows he's an awesome dude. Little Perez goodness, JLA Avengers.
That's a good one.
Yep. Marvel .1, First Sam Alexander Nova.
That's a good spec book.
Yeah, especially with the Nova series coming out. Very clean copy too, and I got that for like $5, I think.
Wow.
Got oh boy, that is first. Is it first?
Phantom X.
It's first Quentin Quire.
Quentin Quire, that's right.
Yeah, new X.
I'm thinking of the other Phoenix cover. That's the Phantom X.
There's like 3 Phantom X keys that I had to go hunt down after. I actually really like that character quite a bit. I got the first appearance of the World and all that kind of stuff because he's such a cool character. This is the second printing sketch cover, but first Scar full appearance. So
yep.
Got a little Spectacular Spider-Man 107.
Nice black costume action.
Yep. This is the one that actually, like, we were getting into the stuff that actually made me follow along. I'm like, I need to check out when these auctions are ending. These are some low grade books, but getting some nice Strange Tales books. This is a nice key. Strange Tales 125.
Oh wow.
Classic fight between Human Torch, Thing, and Namor.
Nice.
Yeah. A lot of foxing and a lot of that kind of stuff, but the price was amazing. So
yeah.
Very cool.
That Doctor Strange picture. That's cool.
Yeah. Very cool. I love this era stuff. Strange Tales 147. And these were all just like ridiculously good prices. Love this book. Love the cover of this.
Oh, that's cool. Love it.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Not a key, but still just glorious. This is like what? Origin of Pip the Troll, I think.
Is that Origin or first? Yeah, there's
pretty sure that's Origin.
Something too, isn't it? There's first.
I think there's another key in that too. I think at one point I actually like bothered to look this all up, and it's been a minute. Let's see if I have my list still here, because it's probably more annoying than me saying like, oh, what was this? So that was Strange Tales 181 is second Gamora and second Pip the Troll.
Okay.
Not a key, but I think it was like literally $2. Submariner number 10.
A little Silver Age Submariner.
Yeah. This was one of my other ones that really made me watch though. Submariner 50, first name Marita.
Yeah, there we go.
And that is pretty good shape too, actually. Like I'd call it high mid grade.
That's clean.
Yeah. $2 couldn't I'm a sucker for this book. Reintroduction to Supergirl.
Oh yeah.
Great book. Let's see. Tales of Suspense 76. First Sharon Carter cover and first Ultimo.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a cool book.
Awesome. Batroc.
Yep. First Adaptoid.
Later to become Super Adaptoid.
Exactly. You got it. And then this is first Ogre, OGUR, first Ogre.
Nice.
For,
that's an early Thor.
Yeah.
Wasn't he like 120 something? Was his first issue like 126 or something?
That sounds right. You're in the right ballpark for sure. Nice. You actually mentioned this comic book recently when you're talking about.
That's my Christmas comic.
Yeah. So nice high grade Web of Spider-Man newsstand #1. That's pretty cool. And then this is my third favorite pickup from this, a really high grade copy of What If #1.
There you go. That's nice.
9294 probably. So let's see. First Kate Bishop cover and her costume. Young Avengers #9.
That's cool. I love is that Chiang? Is that the artist on that?
Good question.
Jimmy Chiang.
I think it is a Chung cover.
Yeah.
I think he was doing all those around that time.
Yeah, I love his art.
I think that's making sure there wasn't something else hiding in here. It was part of that haul. Batman Shoe Hack Slash. Yeah, I think that's it. But yeah, a pretty good little pickup. You know, nothing super crazy.
Those are some cool books.
I thought it was a pretty nice day. I was pretty happy. So there is more of a reason for me talking about this. And I teased it earlier and we'll continue to talk about it, but I have to reintroduce the main topic of the night before I talk about it. So keep that under your hat for a second. You know, why am I buying some comic books that I clearly wasn't necessarily seeking out for my personal collection? I basically already said it. Hey, what's up, Pearl Aquamama? What if Spider-Man had a hard time finding a bathroom?
Pearl Aquamama, that's my sister.
Oh, nice. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hello, Heidi.
It's in New York City. Everyone has a hard time finding a bathroom. That's Kid Omega is awesome. Inquiring.
Hello, Christina.
Yep, Inquire does need more love for sure. Oh, hey, Christina. Thank you very much for pointing out Christina.
She's just posting along, like putting our channels up there and everything, you know.
Well, I missed so much of chat because I was focusing on grabbing books, but yeah, it's one of those things where it was just fortuitous.
Yeah, that's awesome, buddy.
So yeah, cool stuff happened there. I mean,
it goes along with like one of my things for the year too. So
yeah, a few things in here that are definitely for the PC, by the way, like that Submariner 50, the What If one. Those are for me. But a few of these things in here are destined for sale. And why am I talking about that? Well, we talked about what happened in 2024. I think the new year is a very natural time to talk about what you want to do as far as, New Year's resolutions. And I think New Year's resolutions for a lot of people are very stereotypical things like, I want to lose weight. I want to quit smoking. I want, those are the stereotypical examples, right? There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. You do you. For me, as a collector, as somebody who has a hobby like comic books or a YouTube channel and where I do comic book content, I actually have reasons why the new year matters in a different way. I like to reevaluate my situation with those hobbies, basically, and kind of talk about what happened last year, what did I learn, what do I want to do differently for the following year. And that's kind of what we're going to do live for everybody here a little bit. Talk about what did we learn, what was different than we expected, what surprised us, and how is that going to inform how we're going to act differently going forward. So, Big B, I want to turn it over to you. What do you think were the big takeaways for you for 2024 that you think are going to matter when it comes to looking forward?
Well, kind of like rolling this into like kind of like goals / take what I learned from 2024 and what it makes me want to focus on for 2025. Like when we showed our hauls or what we got, it may not seem like it, but I don't feel like I maximized all the opportunities that I got. I want to do a better job of taking advantage of the opportunities that are presented to me. I feel like a lot of times I hem and haw and I sit on the fence on a lot of things, and I don't always pull the trigger when I should.
Okay.
And so I want to do a better job of like taking advantage of opportunities of things or making quicker decisions, I guess, rather than.
Do you want to be more aggressive?
maybe be more aggressive, or because sometimes I feel like I miss out on things because I'm weighing my options too much, and
Yeah.
other people decide to move along.
Okay.
So that's something that I'm going to try to do a better job of.
See, Aggressively Relaxing has an idea. He says the same resolution every year that he makes: be a better Andy Samberg fan. It's a worthy goal. Actually, that was my 2024. Is I finally watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, so I guess
I've
that
seen
was
parts of that. It's pretty
good. I liked it more than I expected to. Okay, so be more quick to react to opportunities that come up. Is there one example that you're willing to share that happened that makes you that was like kind of a regret that makes you want to do that differently going forward?
I recently was hemming and hawing on a deal that included a giant size X-Men #1 and a Marvel Spotlight 5, and this person decided to move the GSX before I pulled the trigger. So
gotcha. Okay, so that's interesting. I can make a joke. I endeavor to be in the situations that you find yourself in 2025. Yeah, and I don't want to rehash this territory too much, but you had such an amazingly successful 2024 in my eyes, and I know you, like you just said, there's some opportunities there, but you for a comic book collector, we're talking about the comic book collecting part of things. I mean, you just slam dunked it, man.
Yeah, there was some good opportunities that came up, and I did. That's what I was saying. I didn't want to sound like ungrateful for the opportunities that I got and the how well last year turned out. I just want to make sure that I do a better job of it. And it's not always necessarily like super big deals or anything either. A lot of times it's like moving some smaller books that I have that, I have an opportunity to do that. And I just don't capitalize on it, or, and there's some other things like, you mentioned like a lot of people like goals are like weight loss and stuff. One of my goals for the year is health and stuff. A lot of times I wake up on the weekend and I'm having like a lot of back pain and stuff. And like that doesn't make me want to go down and work on my books and get them organized and do the best thing I can. So I want to try to do a better job of like taking care of myself so that I can then be more productive. And that curtails into, I want to be, one of my big goals for the year is to be more productive and organized, and making use of the tools that I have, and doing more like claim sales with you and that kind of thing, or what have you, to try to have the hobby fund itself and generate income that way. So just to be all around better organized and more motivated and more focused and more quick on the trigger.
Okay. You had a couple, I had a couple questions come through while you were talking. So this is the first one that I want to point at you. Agu, shout out to Agu out there, by the way. Comes in and asks, do you use the sleep on it for 24-hour rule?
Probably I use the sleep on it for more than that, and I shouldn't wait so long.
Gotcha.
That's a lot of times I like to bounce things off of my friends and get their take on it. And so
yeah, I gotcha. The other question came through, I think this is probably more for both of us, but what's your next comic book convention? Also in the chat, let us know. Comes to us from Comic Tropes. I'll answer first. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to Fan Expo in Portland. I might, but it's coming up pretty quick, and I didn't hear back from somebody I was looking to hear back from that kind of was going to be the deciding factor there. So gosh, there's really, what else is there in the area?
Frankenstein,
Washington. Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I will be talking about that pretty quickly. It's not really a convention, though.
It's kind of. It's just
convention. It is, but it's not in a convention in the sense that people usually think of a convention these days.
It's a comic show in the truest form of like.
Oh,
comic show.
it's a comic convention in the form of like the kind of comic conventions that I normally would want to go to. If you added in a few more creators, it would be amazing. But
Yeah.
yeah. Kamikaze's going to Heroes Con this year. That's cool. Right
Yeah.
on. Ooh, Ticklefest 25. Tell me more.
Behind the Waffle House.
Is there a waffle? Is there a Waffle House? I don't think there is one. Maybe there's one in Seattle or something.
My sister, I use the wait for payday method. If it's still there, then it's mine.
Yeah. It goes to a lot of really good theories about how to spend money in a hobby. Is have the money set aside first. A lot of us don't do that.
Right.
John's going to Fan Expo Saturday only. Okay. I'm gonna try, but at this point, if I don't hear back from the person I was interested in hearing back from, it might not happen.
When is that coming up? When is Fan Expo?
It's like the 23rd, whatever weekend that would be. 24th, 25th, 26th, I think, of this month. So it's coming up pretty quick.
Really quick.
Yeah, the photo op thing, that's kind of, and I looked at the guest list and I wasn't super excited. I get, there's really no reason not to peel back the curtain. So last year I had a contact that's no longer with Fan Expo that might have wanted me to come on and do a couple things with them. And they're no longer with Fan Expo. They work for a different convention outfit now. And so I reached out to that person's, kind of their replacement, and I haven't heard back from them yet. So I'm not sure. That would be the only reason I would go. That's kind of what it comes down to.
Gotcha.
Other than that, looking at the guest list, like there's actually, I was trying to remember, there's one or two people I haven't met yet that it was like, oh, it'd be kind of cool, but it wasn't like anybody that I was dying to see or anything like that. And they are talking about comic creators. I didn't even look at like the celebrity list. But yeah, for me, 2024.
I think Tropes has a thing going there. Awesome Sauce wants to go to Ticklefest too.
Ooh, you're drumming up some interest.
You keep getting a line going up. People are ready.
Tickle seconds are different thing. You can sloppy seconds are fine with tickle seconds, as long as you still got laughs in you. It might even be better. Depends on what floats your boat, your tickle boat.
All right, so your things you've learned from 24 and how you're going to use them going into 25.
Yeah. So for me, it's pretty simple. I looked at my collection and I'm not happy with where it's at.
Okay.
And just realized that I have to focus. I mean, this is where it all comes down to for me, is I am looking at my comic book collection as it is. Right. And I'm looking at a comic book collection. I'm ahead of what I want it to be.
Right.
And they're very different.
Right.
And so I'm going to, we've talked about this many times. I'm going to use the hobby, elements of the hobby, to try to move the needle more to where I want it to be. And what does that mean? Mostly it's a quantity over quality problem that I have. In the terms of just, I have a lot of books where it was cool to pick it up at the time. It was a good deal. It was a good cover. It was a fun read, but I'm ready to move on from it. I don't want to own the paper forever. Whereas there is some paper that's older, harder to get, more expensive, that I do want. And it kind of just comes down to that. I want to focus more on my collecting. I'm enjoying reading much more these days digitally. So it makes things easier because I only want to collect the actual comic books, the vintage comic books that I want in my collection going forward. Pretty much that's it. So how does that add up with, picking up these comic books? We talked about Frankenstein Comic Swap. I'm going with a couple other friends, QWERTY Comics and Dan's X-Men Comics. We're going to try to run a booth together at that swap, which is, it's basically a comic book only selling and trading show is kind of what it is. I mean, there's some action figures, there's some stuff like that, but it's 98% comic books. And so I'm definitely going to try to sell some comics there. I'm going to be doing some whatnot selling too. I'm going to go back to that. I'm going to try it out. And I'm literally thinking about, like, I might even pick a week where I might run like every day, like, noon or something like that, or 1 p.m. or something, just do an hour-long show. It's the Frankenstein Comic Swap in Portland. It takes place twice a year. They usually do it around St. Patrick's Day and around Halloween, although it's never exactly on those days unless it lines up with the weekend. It's a one-day only show. It runs all day. If you come in early, you got to pay $1 to get in. If you come in later, it's like free to get in, right?
If you come in early, it's $5 to get in.
Oh, that's what it is.
And if you come in an hour early, it's $5 to get in. And if you come in after that, it's $1 to get in.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, but it's almost, the cost is negligible compared to a lot of other shows.
Right.
That's a good question. I actually don't know. Comic Tropes.
We don't have like the dearth of flea markets that they have on the East Coast.
Yeah. There might be one that happens. But I know there was one that used to happen, but it shut down. So there might be one that happens I don't know about, but I haven't heard about them. I would go to them occasionally because it'd be fun to go to one of those, especially like troll for like Vintage Joes and stuff like that too.
There's a big one that happens every summer that West Coast Avengers went to, and is it the Packwood flea market?
Oh, I've heard of that one. Yeah, I've heard of that one. It's a little farther north from us, but I mean it's definitely drivable.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not like local for me, but yeah, definitely would go to that. Yeah, so I'm gonna somewhere, and then hopefully Big B and I are, we're talking about claim sales. We've threatened to do it for a while. We need to get on it, and that's mostly me, probably more than anything else that needs to get on it. But yeah, doing
it's
more claim
sales. It's both of us. I'll take my share of the blame.
But and this is what I've warned people or cautioned people about for a long time. I need to take some of my own advice, is have that self-assessment of, have you picked up too many comic books? Is moving your comic books around a chore that you don't want to do? Some people want to do it. That's fine. Is rebagging and boarding becoming too much of a chore? Again, some people want to do it. That's fine. Is the thought of, like, physically not having enough space to correctly organize your collection a problem, to the point where you're having to make investments to store everything? But if that's the case for you and you're fine with that, great. I'm not trying to change anybody's opinion. I'm just saying it's worth asking those questions, because a lot of people end up really unhappy with their comic book collection because it's a drain on their resources or their time or their space or whatever. And I think I'm getting to that point where it's like, I definitely need to change things up to be happier. And I have a lot of stuff too that it's like, it's the really cliche thing to say these days, but it doesn't bring me joy in the same way that it did when I first got it. And so it's probably time for it to move on to somebody else who it is going to bring some joy to. So
yeah, I get that. That.
And I should say, I'm also going to do some eBay too. I've actually only sold maybe like 5 or 6 comics on eBay my entire life. Which I've sold a lot of, like, figures, and I sell some other stuff on eBay. Like, I sell like fishing lures, some old pocket knives. I sell some just interesting stuff that I have, and a lot of them at that. But I don't actually sell that many comic books. So I think I'm going to get into that more. I've been talking to Scott over at Gamma Base Comics, and they're like an online Facebook comic book shop. They do big numbers for a store that's kind of like that. They do live claim sales and all that kind of stuff. And he's saying he's having a lot of luck right now on eBay. People are really kind of, invested in picking up comic books. I mean, not like they're overpaying for comic books, which is great. I don't want people overpaying for comic books, but there are more volumes moving, right? So I'm like, all right, well, I'll try that out too. Depends on the comic book. Some stuff might go on eBay, some stuff might go on Whatnot, some stuff is going to go to a claim sale, some stuff's going to go to the comic swap. I got to figure out how many comic book boxes worth I can bring to that show. I'm going to start pricing stuff. I've never done that as a retailer, before on this side. I got to make sure I have a payment method set up and ready to go and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be fun for me to try to do that, but it's also going to be some work. So I'm going to dive into that. And that's kind of my biggest goal, is really to sell some comic books, because there's a few comic books I really want to get. So it's kind of like a pyramid, not a scheme, but a pyramid. It's like a lot of selling that needs to happen to move up to probably some intermediate trades, that kind of thing, to ultimately end up to, maybe selling a few more books, and then or trading a few more books to being able to acquire those, 5 or 6 comic books that I really, really want that are higher ticket that I can't just, I'm just having a bad time saving up money for those comic books without that money ended up needing for car repairs or medical bills or whatever it is. Right. So it's tough.
Right.
That's where I'm at. So how that kind of, I answered everything for you. Is there any kind of specific directions that you're looking to take in 2025 that you are, specific paths besides those claim sales like we talked about earlier that you're looking at?
Yeah, no, I think maybe trying to do like the Instagram post sales, that kind of thing. I might try to do some of that. And maybe, Travis and I have teamed up on some whatnot before, so maybe, who knows, going forward we'll see or maybe you and I.
Yeah.
But just definitely trying to do a better job of managing the resources that I have and making use of them.
Figure says I'm shaming 75% of my odds. It's true though, because I've pointed this out in videos before, and it's some tough medicine for some people to hear. So,
yeah, no, yeah.
The show's in Portland, Oregon. It takes place at the Lloyd Center Mall. I wouldn't personally say it's probably not worth traveling from New York to, which is also to say that I know people who have traveled to the show have liked it. You might want to, if you were something else was bringing to the area, maybe you would have a fun time like lining those two things up. But I have a feeling there's things that are similar to this that happen in New York, whereas it's kind of unique for this area to have something like that. It used to be more common, but it's definitely unique now. We just don't have as many opportunities for things like that, especially. I think there's maybe some more of that stuff in Seattle, but I feel like in the Portland area, there's plenty of shops and stuff, but there's not a lot of like small shows. They're super comic focused, which is funny because of what Comic Trips just said here. There's a lot of comic tubers in Washington, huh? There really is. There's tons of us, tons.
Right? Something in the water.
And like the funniest thing is some of the most famous ones, really.
Yeah, look at that guy.
Yeah, like Comic Trips. But yeah, it is crazy how that works. So yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I do have reading goals too. I really want to read more comic books in 2025. That's a big one for me too. It's been very like boom or bust for me for reading comic books. Like I'll go through a period where I'm just like reading a ton, and then there'll be like weeks or a month where I read nothing. And it's really bothering me. Like I want to read, and it's not necessarily brand new stuff, but I really want to read more current stuff as part of that, because I have been reading a lot of older stuff. And I need to figure out how to carve into a little space for myself to do that, for my own sanity. Because, part of the thing I say at the end of my recorded episodes, the read comics every day thing, is because of, not to be too cliche, but a little bit of mental health, which is like reading comic books helps me. It helps me a lot. And people have their different things like video games or whatever. And I have some of those too, but it's really two things relieve my stress and anxiety more than anything else. It's building Lego sets, which is something I discovered later in life, and reading comic books. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Yeah.
Yep.
That's another one of my goals, to do more of the creative outlet stuff for me, because I just don't focus on it enough, and I get so wrapped up or worried about other things that I don't allow myself to do more of the art or creative things that I want to do.
Absolutely. You guys are so great in the chat. I want to bring up a couple of these things
Yeah.
in the chat. I hate to get a little off topic, but at the same time, it's totally fine. Like we've said many times, you guys are as part of the show as we are. Awesome Sauce wants to know, is Emerald City Comic Con worth the trip? And I will tell you, I've never been to it. I've never been to Emerald City. I've tried to go a couple years and had really bad luck timing things come up that prevented me from being able to go. And both those times, people I knew that went said it wasn't worth going. So I think it really depends on what you're going for. I think it has more value, like something like there's a big show here. I don't know if it's still called PAX, but they did like gaming and stuff.
Yeah, PAX is the gaming one. My sister says it is worth going to. She goes every year.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, it used to be. I think you'll see different opinions from different people. This is the thing that I think is true for a lot of people, is it's not very. If you're going to look at comic books and buy comic books, from what I understand, and again, I haven't been there, so I can't categorically say this, it's probably not the best one. And honestly, Rose City, which is a con that I actually really like in a lot of ways, more for the people that I know that end up going to it, and the access you get to creators that are there because they're not necessarily as swamped as they are at some other shows. But other than that, it's not really like a comic forward show. So
I agree with Agu. SummerCon was better than them from my experience. I went to Emerald City years ago.
Yeah,
SummerCon was great compared to. So,
and that goes right in with what Razor Ramen saying. Would you recommend Rose City or Emerald City? Would come from California and looking for focus on comics over pop culture, then you want to go to SummerCon. Or honestly, if you're focusing on comics over pop culture, you might want to come to Frankenstein too.
Frankenstein's amazing, especially if you're digging for deals.
Yeah, if you want if you're looking for tons of comic books, and the thing about Frankenstein is there's a few shops there for sure, but it's actually mostly, a lot of the conversations I have are with people that maybe they pretty much sell on eBay, or maybe they just go to a couple shows, and Frankenstein's one of them. There was a dentist I was talking to. He's just a dentist. Like, that's his job. That's what he does. He goes to the Frankensteins, and he goes to one other show he told me about that's mostly a toy show that takes place in a hotel. I wish I could remember what it's called. He said it's mostly a toy show, but he said there is some comic books there too. That's all he does.
Yeah. It's a lot of it is like individual collectors liquidating, like we were talking about, liquidating the stuff that they picked up over the years that they just, like you said, they got joy out of at one point, and now they're looking to get joy out of something else. So they're moving along a lot of their stuff at a really good deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Comic Trips has a really good point here about Emerald. The convention center charges retailers a fortune to use their loading dock or their union workers. So that's a big part of what it is. Okay. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Rose City must be kind of the same, or something must be tied into that, because they just do not generate a lot of comic vendors. So if you're looking for comic vendors, I will say SummerCon last year, not my first time going to it, but it actually seemed to have a few less comic vendors. It still had a lot of comic vendors, but a few less than what I saw the year before.
I wanted to say hi to KS Prime. He said hi a couple times.
So
hey, KS Prime.
Absolutely.
And he's going to
jumping around here.
Transformers convention or a Godzilla Fest. There we go.
Oh, nice. I'd love to actually check out like there's a there's a toy con that takes place in the Midwest called Joe Fest. That I would love to go to, but I wish there was something like that here on the West Coast that was like maybe like a Joe Transform, like the 80s toys, right? Like focusing primarily on those ones. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I think KS, you just got like a really big Transformer, didn't you? You got like some big, huge, giant
Metroplex or something.
I think was it Devastator? Maybe is there a new Devastator that just came out? Is there a new version of Devastator?
There's a one that they're releasing the first two figures. I can't remember which two or whatever. Like I think it's the cement truck and one of the other ones coming out soon.
Gotcha.
But I mean, there might be like some big release that wasn't part of the mainline figures.
Razor says, "What is Frankenstein?" So it's Frankenstein Comic Swap. You can find out information on
Facebook,
Instagram,
IG.
Facebook. But it's just a one-day show that takes place, like we said, around St. Patrick's Day and Halloween, twice a year, and it's just like individual collectors selling off excess books. Like there are some shops there, but it's a lot of people who part-time sell or whatever. So,
did you read Chris's comment?
What did he say? Everyone dresses. Yes, that's exactly what happens, and you got to be there.
It's super awkward
Behind the Waffle House.
Yes. And it's worth noting that it is put on by a couple comic shop owners. But
yeah,
the level of awesomeness I've seen from those guys putting on the show, like selflessness. It's not about their shops. They're not advertising their shops as part of it. It's and I've heard him talk, some people, I've heard people go up to the owner of Cosmic Monkey, for example, and say things like, oh, well, like you should go because of this, or like you got preference. And he's very much like, no, you do it, or no, the tables are free. No, you do that. Like, it just seems like they're really just trying to give back. They're just trying to give people a space to go do this stuff to share comic books.
That's Cosmic Monkey puts it on, but they don't attend, right? They just put it on, right?
I think in talking to him, I wish I could remember the correctly. I think he has had a table there before.
Okay.
But it's not the primary, like, I don't know if it's their shop or if it's more of just like his personal table kind of a thing. Which there might not be much.
Chat is like flying by. Hi, K-pop junkie. Hi,
I need to see K-pop. Wow.
Yeah. She said there's something Frankenfest in her area.
Oh, nice. There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out. I totally missed some chat.
I was just like, no, the chat list like just flying by. I'm like, wait, there's people that I want to say hi to.
Ticklefest is put on by comic shop owners. That's correct.
That's right. It's going to become a thing. We're just gonna. It's been launched here. Chris, you forgot to copyright it.
Oh. So I mean, really, I guess you can boil the thoughts down to being pretty simple in a lot of ways. It's about selling, trimming down what I have. I love your fitness angle. Something that's definitely always on my mind personally. But I like how you kind of compared that to do I have the energy to go down and rebag and board and do all those kinds of things, right? Like that's a good way to
go out hunting. Like I the other day I went out hunting for the first time in a long time.
Oh, nice.
And I went to a place that I go to. It's a 3-story outlet mall kind of thing. And you go up 6 flights of stairs to get to the top. And the next day I was like, God, I'm hurting so bad. And I was like, oh, that's right, stairs.
Yeah. I don't know why. I thought you meant like literally hunting, like going out in the woods and hunting. And I was
hunting comics.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm digging for books, and it gets hard to get down on your hands and knees and go through bins on the ground.
I mean, for those that don't know, I'm a big guy, but I also have back problems. I broke my back when I was a teenager in a car accident. Mm-hmm. Pretty much ever since then, looking down at that. If people have the tables and then they have like the bottom row of comic boxes, I'm like, man, there could be a lot of stuff in there. I guess I'll never know.
Right.
A lot of times. It depends.
Right.
But yeah, it's like, my back will definitely let me know if I look through too many of those. There's a shop that I'll have to talk to you about this afterwards because I don't want to call them out and make it sound bad. There's a shop that has like probably 50 long boxes on those kinds of, folding tables. And then the same number right below them, and they're all long boxes. And I'm just like, man, every time I like get the courage to look through those boxes, because they're mostly unsorted, right? Those bottom boxes are so much better stuff in them.
Oh, because nobody wants to get down there and dig.
Yeah, yep,
for sure.
It's funny how that works.
Fortune favors the bold.
Yeah. Fortune doesn't favor my back, but it does favor the bold.
Fortune favors the nimble.
So I'd kind of expected a few more people to chime up and chat about this particular part of the topic. And if you didn't, that's totally fine. If you want to let us know if you're watching on the rewind or if you're watching on the live stream and you want to leave a comment afterwards, let us know what you're changing in your comic book collecting in 2025, because I'm really interested to hear what people have to say. Because to me, this is something I always do every year. I always take a look at this. If you guys want, we can talk about it a little bit. I also take a look at like the YouTube, like not strategy, but like the YouTube, like what am I going to do differently for YouTube as kind of a similar thing. But it's really come down to a lot of stuff that I want to change. And I'm really curious what everybody else is, does anybody else do that? What are your things? Do you create a list of comic books you're hunting for? Do you create a list of comic books you want to read? That kind of stuff. I'm super curious. Leave the comment down below if you're watching this on the rewind, or if you want to stick around and leave a comment after the stream, because
now you're getting some people talking about.
I kind of knew that would happen.
What's that?
I knew that would happen. Yeah.
Well, Chris wants us all to dress up like Swamp Thing and walk into a store.
He's picked up on my rare backflips, but occasionally. We all dress up as Swamp Thing and walk into the store and treat it like we're at the Frankenstein Con. I have a feeling if certain YouTubers in our space saw that, they would actually try to do it. Well, I'm thinking of one in particular. Sorting and cutting back on stuff, have way too many books. And K-pop, all of her books are Babe books from the 90s. Every single comic book she owns. I don't know if you guys know this. There's two kinds of comic books that K-pop owns. She owns like Silvestri, she owns like Glory and Diodato books and stuff from the 90s, that kind of stuff. And then she owns Kickstarters that she's interviewed people on her channel. So she has tons of both. That's all she has. Witchblade, like you name it, that's all she's got. Lady Death. I'm giving her a hard time, but I'm also
I'm liking cutting out like commas in between people's comments here. Hi Radical K-pop and hi Austin Figure. Like no comment in between. Just hi Austin Figure. Hi Radical K-pop.
People are busy. They don't have time for those commas.
No, I'm cutting out the commas. I'm just reading. Okay. I'm like, oh, there's a comma in there. Okay.
I mean, to be fair, there is no comma.
Radical K-pop. I mean, yeah.
Cartoon version of Swamp Thing. There you go. Stop buying actual.
We're going to get a little bit less.
Yeah.
Travis is going to focus on getting all Kirby this year. Okay.
More original art and more sketch covers. That's cool. I like that.
That's a cool idea.
So Chris, you go over your weekly polls on your second channel, Comic Tropes After Dark. So is it that you want to read less, or is it that you're tired of how many comic books you're collecting? Because I'm curious about that. Like, are you still going to read that many comics, but you're going to read them a different way? Like in trades or digital or whatever, or are you just like literally looking to read fewer titles coming out? Let's see what else used to be mentioned that happened twice a week. I think it was called Frankensons. Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Oh yeah, I think that still exists. I think I've seen gosh, who was it? Was it Swag that was doing that? That went to Frankensons?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah,
I know somebody definitely went to it. Like I could see like a guy like Lunch Money going and doing that too.
I'm pretty sure it was Swag. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Comics Limited, who by the way I forgot to mention earlier, he does a weekly whatnot sale. He's listing some comic books on eBay, so there you go. Need to commit to putting my comics in boxes more often. I tend to just stack them in piles by my computer. Yeah, I'm guilty of that too. The stack, man, I hate it. I hate it.
Piles of books that just I bring books up here to talk about on the show, and then they just stay. Oh,
K-pop, I for sure have the same books. Don't worry. I wasn't making fun of you, but I just remember there was
I'm
some.
just saying you have good taste.
Yeah, no, there was some stream that K-pop did that I loved, where she was just pulling out. I was in the chat. I think she was just pulling out like all that. I think maybe it was a haul that she got. Just Aspen and all that great stuff, right? Like it was awesome. John has a checklist for Batman 200 through 400 that you're collecting.
Yeah.
So do you have a good chunk of that already, John, and you're just trying to fill in the gaps, or do you have like a half or more you need to pick up? Curious to see what you say on that. I feel like I try things and end up not being super into them. Okay.
Which is kind of, I think, like we're saying, we see a lot of people who do that at Frankenstein. Like all the stuff that they tried out, didn't necessarily like, man, tried it, didn't like it. Here it is.
Yeah. And that's what Frankenstein's so great for. And I wish, we have a private chat we're part of called the Comic Trading Network. I'm not going to divulge any secrets or anything, but that's just, it's a few people that are in there. And I wish there were more resources for that, because it's literally like, hey, here's my kind of list I'm looking for, the titles I have a lot of, and everybody shares the same information, and some trades happen there. And that's pretty perfect.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever pulled off a deal in there.
No, I haven't either, but like but people have, like, the people have shared their.
Travis has pulled off a few in there.
Yeah. A few of other people we know that I wasn't going to say any names. Jeez, I'm just kidding. It's not like it's a very secret group. It's just.
I'm sorry, Travis.
One of Awesome Sauce's goals is to pick up some animation cells. Oh, that's cool, especially from cool. Batman. Ooh, Batman Beyond. That would be neat.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, animated series for sure. I just got in rewatching the animated series with my kiddo. That was a lot of fun. She really, really liked it, which is, it's just so cool to watch her watch stuff like that I watched when I was a kid. Trope says he tries relaunches and event titles sometimes, and usually don't get too into them. Yeah, that's kind of, I was reading Blood Hunt as kind of I don't like reading event titles, and it was kind of my dipping my toe in that well again, because I hadn't done it in years. Like I've read the main line, like King in Black, and I read the main line. Whenever there's an X one, I do tend to read most of that, but most of them are just not that great. Looks around at piles of comics in his office. That's funny. Piles, but you're getting better about it. Ooh, Marvel Spotlight 5 through 11 is Renegade Rant's goal. Robbing banks to afford the 5 is a possibility. But I mean, if you ever need
you got like a 6, didn't you, when we were at the show?
I think I have I've got a few Marvel Spotlight.
You got a 6. It wasn't in the best shape, but like it was really cheap, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't we get it like $1 bin or something? I was like, it's
I don't.
It's like an appearance of Ghost Rider.
I don't think it wasn't a.
It was like maybe like a $5 bid or something like that, but it like had a tear in it or something. But it was like, I'm like, this is the second appearance of Ghost Rider.
In fact, I can tell you that I paid $50 for that copy.
Oh, was it $50? Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I have a Marvel Spotlight 6 and a 9. So hit me up.
I think I have like 7. I think I have several issues in there too. We can help you out.
Lords of Brooklyn, too many action figures. I mean, there's a Balin skull right there for you.
There
that
you
just
go.
came in a while ago. Or
that's a good one
let's see.
Too. I like that
little retro stalker.
There you go.
G.I. Joe. Yep. Too much. There's ridiculous amounts. Actually, it's not really a normal action figure, but I was super happy to find this. I went to, there's a chain of not Lego stores, but they sell Lego called Bricks and Minifigs around here. I went to one, and I've been chasing this Supergirl minifigure that came from Lego Dimensions, the video game, for so long. And they had one, and she has a cracked torso or whatever, but I didn't care because it was a really good price. I just wanted that figure for so long. I have the Green Arrow, which is like the Arrow TV show version of Arrow, which was the other poly bag that was hard to find for those. I mean, brand new, those go for a ton. I was just so happy to have one,
Cool.
or at least they used to. I don't know if they do anymore.
Trip says, I set realistic goals. I'll write Batman this year. Just pick up a pen and write Batman.
Oh my gosh, there's so much chat. Yeah. Oh man, Comic Tropes. I think he's trying to collect every single classified figure, which is daunting. There's a lot now. Did you ever unbox your Dragonfly? You had to get one, Chris. You're getting everything. So the HasLab Dragonfly. Oh yeah, I think I've got not all of them, but I've got a lot. That's a very kind offer, but I've got a lot of them now. I can't even think if there's any that I really still would like want that I don't have, but I do have like the little mini builds and everything, like the Back to the Future and all that stuff. It was really cool. I'm glad they did that. It was a fun game, short-lived but fun. Wow, that's incredible.
That's awesome.
Oh, you haven't unboxed any of it? Wow. Okay, it's all in box. Crazy. What did you pick up?
Good night, DS Prime.
It's a weird collection. No, a lot of people they would kill for that. Some of that stuff's definitely be worth a lot of money at some point too.
The chat is. Wow.
I know you guys are blown up. The higher end figures, yeah, higher end figures are. It's kind of a weird thing for me. It's like the quality on cheap production figures has gotten so good, and like getting like, okay, like for example, one of my favorite GI Joes, top 5 easily, was Falcon. Getting a 6-inch version of Falcon that's like highly articulated and highly, posable, and that's the same thing, detailed, was so cool. It was so cool that they did a terrible job on the face, and I even got like a second Night Force version of the figure just to do a head swap on the original figure because they did a better face. That's where I'm at. And so like the higher end figures, whew, I don't know, like I've even ventured into some knockoffs. Like I got like this this is like I don't have the figure in the package anymore, but it's a Mezco knockoff, or not, sorry, not Mezco, Mafex knockoff. And everybody was posting these online on YouTube and stuff like that. They're like, I don't know, $90 figures brand new, but you can get the knockoff for like $5 and it's almost the same quality. Those high-end figures are so cool, but man, they're expensive. Nice. Ooh, going bonkers on toys in Japan. Oh my gosh, that sounds like so much fun.
Are you gonna go hang out with what was it, Japan Book Hunter, Dave's buddy?
Oh, good point. Good point. The Night Force is a huge improvement. Yes, absolutely. Go nuts there. Then the machines, is it true that they have great toys and Dunley machines in Japan? Yeah, sideshows. Oh man, sideshow. I was showing Bigby. There's a sideshow Harley coming out.
Yeah, that's a sweet looking fig.
It's cool, but it's $700. Like,
right,
dude.
Oh, Travis did he send you the finished X-23 from Heroes?
Yes, he did. I assume you're asking because you want me to show it.
Oh yeah. Well, he said if you get a chance.
Yeah. I just got to do some monkeying around here, and then after that, we're probably going to call it quits because we actually did end up going the full length. Basically,
I told you we have this tendency of being able to chat and having a good time.
I mean, in chat, that's the key word. It's the chat that really did it for us. And then I do want to tease a topic that we're going to talk about, probably next week's topic, but I'll do that. 2 things before I do that.
Show that. You sent me and said, "Hey, this is a cool idea."
Yeah, I think we should talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's this idea of what people recommend to new comic book readers. And that's something we've talked about a lot. Something I'm passionate about is suggesting comics and going out there and trying to get comics out there. It's this great post, and we'll go into it in full detail next week. But the gist of it is people have a tendency to suggest things like Dark Knight Returns and suggest Watchmen and all these other things. Maybe, though, you should think about why you started reading comics. Was it Dark Knight Returns? Was it Watchmen? Were those the first comic books you picked up? Or was it, X-Men 19, that's part 7 of a 9-part arc that doesn't make any sense and you just loved it and you kept reading?
Right.
And I have a really detailed thought on that question, but I think it's a great topic to talk about.
Definitely.
So I think what we're going to talk about next week. But that said, let's check out some amazing artwork from 2 awesome friends of the channel. One of them's on the stream right now. He drew the pencils on the left there that you see for Heroes during the stream. Did you finish the whole thing during the stream? I know you got pretty close.
Yeah, I finished it on stream.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then on the right, you have Comics Limited, who did scanned it and then did an ink and color process over that. And it came out looking
Who added
really
the
cool.
pants? Who added the pants?
Great memory on that one. So I think it turned out really good on the colors too. I mean, I love the original piece he did. It has like this to me kind of almost this retro look to it that I really like in the coloring.
Yeah, you did a great job. Good job, Travis.
There were pants.
Pants were insinuated.
Oh, yeah. Comic Tropes, I got you. I will hook you up with that tonight. Oh, actually, the scan failed? Wait a minute.
I don't know
so
what that means.
Did you ink and color the original, Travis? Because I need to know if that's the case, because I told the person who bought it otherwise.
Oh, no. He did he light tabled it.
Oh, I gotcha. Loud and clear. I gotcha. Just wanted to make sure because I was informed the buyer otherwise. So I just wanted to make sure. Anyways, great job, both of you two. That's the ultimate point there. It looks great.
Yeah, I know. Trav, you did a great job. Good job.
And you did an amazing job as well. So the last thing, real fast, if you haven't finished Creature Commandos, again, we're not going to go nitty gritty spoilers. It's really going to be like a 2-minute conversation, probably, about just our thoughts on it. If you really don't want any spoilers for Creature Commandos, especially the last couple episodes, now's your chance to, just say, hello, we'll see you next week. We're going to talk about that cool topic. And goodbye. Man, I can't believe they put Superman. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No Superman. Although you did get Batman.
You did get Batman.
In a very, very brief cameo.
A few seconds of him.
If that. So Creature Commandos, the biggest things that actually got me thinking about it were a couple articles that I sent to Big B that were talking about some of the potential implications of what the show might mean for Superman, which I thought were kind of smart decisions about some of the stuff you see in the trailer with Rick Flag Sr., and it's possible that Waller might be involved with why Superman's being questioned at one point, which is an interesting point. I mean, it makes perfect sense world building wise. But just to talk about the show itself, what do you think overall?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the show. I thought that the thing about the Superman thing was interesting because they're like this. There's the scene in the trailer that looks like it might be taking place in the similar country that was in the show, right?
Yeah. So there's a war going on. You see a kid raising the flag and kind of calling for Superman. And that takes place in a country that might be bordering can't remember the made up name of the country.
Pakistan or whatever.
Yeah. I thought I was going to just butcher it, so I wasn't even going to try. But the country that's the princess that they're trying to protect and then kill and then protect again or whatever during the show might be at war with that nation is kind of part of the idea, which would make sense too. Mm-hmm. but yeah, it was kind of fascinating. We got some new characters at the very, very end. Nobody like earth shattering. That are going to be joining Task Force M pretty soon. And we got a poignant ending, I would say, for the characters. A little bit of sad, a little bit of happy, a little bit of mystery.
Yeah, there's a lot of like very definite endings for characters in that show. I was like, oh, like
Yeah.
I mean, even earlier episodes, I was like, is Clayface, is he dead?
Well, and it makes you wonder because there's rumors about that Clayface project. That makes you wonder about that.
Right.
There's so I will say, like, to me, I guess the one thing I wanted to talk about was the coolest thing about the show is I liked how you did kind of get a look at the origin story of each of the characters for the most part.
Yeah.
With the exception of, I guess you really never got Rick Flag. They didn't really do one for him, which you don't necessarily need one for him, but each of the monsters.
I really like, once they started getting to Weasel, I was like, Weasel's really cool.
Weasel, I think GI Robot and Weasel really touched a lot of people for different reasons.
Yeah.
I pointed this out. GI Robot's first appearance went from being like a $10 to $20 book to being like several hundreds of dollars in the period of like a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It was insane. Like I more than I expected.
Yeah, I read that book when I was a little kid. Loved it.
Yeah. Although Weasel, who I have Weasel's first appearance, oddly enough, has still not shot up as you might expect, even though he had a really cool moment in that series.
What was his first appearance? I don't even
It's in a Firestorm
okay.
book. Firestorm. I don't remember the issue number, but I have some of the weird keys from that, like the Killer Frost first appearance that's in there, a few other weird ones. But yeah, I
think the Bride stole the show though. But.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think to a certain extent, depending on if you like him or not, maybe a little bit Adam, which Frankenstein. I will say, is David Harbour playing the same role too often? I feel like the dumb oafish guy who thinks he's the best might be a little too on the nose for him if he tries to go to that well again.
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
I don't know. I felt like that Frankenstein character was really difficult to like for me.
Yeah,
I mean, just because he made such bad decisions, like killing people and stuff. So.
Yeah. I mean, there's the creator in their version, him, the bride becomes likable because of some messed up stuff that happens to her when she's younger and just what she's had to go through. She's more human than Frankenstein is, oddly enough. More intelligent, more aware, more self-aware. Yeah, I don't know. I really I liked the princess is the villain all along. Saw it coming, but it was fun.
Right. Did you see that? Speaking of the bride character, did you see that the movie? What is it? Something Creatures. Can't think of her name. She played that. She played Gwen Stacy in the second Spider-Man series.
She played Cruella.
Yeah.
Why am I blanking on her name?
Had Mark Ruffalo in it too. The movie did. Something Creatures. It's really good. But
wait, is it Heavenly Creatures? That name's in my head for some reason. Emma Stone. Thank you very much.
Somebody will say the name of the movie, but it was really good.
What's it about though?
That's basically the Bride of Frankenstein.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I have not seen it. I'm gonna check it out now though.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil it, but it's
okay.
Really, really good. Yeah.
Nice. I don't know. Yeah, I liked it. I think that it's interesting. I'm more excited for Superman than Creature Commandos, though. But I do want to see them do more animation projects. I like that they're more tied into the mainstream DC universe. At least ostensibly. We'll see how much that actually is true. I think it's going to be true, but you never know. Maybe it won't become that big of a deal.
Okay, it's called Poor Things. That's what it's called. Not creatures. No, no creatures, and they're just things. Yeah. Poor Things.
It's called Poor Creature Commandos thing.
Yeah. No, but it was really good.
I'm gonna. Do you have any other thoughts about Creature Commandos?
About Creature Commandos?
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty well done. There were points where I wished it was a little better done, but I thought it was overall I enjoyed it. But I was getting spoiled. I was watching Creature Commandos at the same time I'm watching What If, so I'm like the animation for Creature Commandos versus What If,
Yeah, What If was interesting too. We could talk about that next week or something. I think you're right. I think he was in the room of dudes that they had to impress to get Task Force X greenlighted. But yeah.
Who? What?
David Harbour. David Harbour being in the first Suicide Squad.
Oh yeah.
Which the first Suicide Squad isn't canon, but the second one is mostly canon. Comics and movies are weird now.
Yeah, I wonder what how the first appearance of the Bride is doing. I bet that's probably doing pretty well.
Probably doing very well. I don't even know which issue that is. But yeah, Awesome Sauce. Yes, that's fine. You can definitely hit me. Absolutely, anybody can hit me up anytime. But yeah, you're more than welcome to, brother. It's thebronzeagenerd@gmail.com. So my final thought is going to be totally non-related to comic books, but it's something we watched recently, which made me think about it. And I'm just going to recommend it. It has nothing to do with anything else. I'm obsessed and love the new French version of The Count of Monte Cristo that just kind of started hitting the United States. It's like a 3-hour long French language subtitled movie. It's like France's, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I think it's France's largest budget film, I want to say. Is it really Seven Soldiers Frankenstein 3? I think I have that.
This one where he's on top of all that big pile of people. Like,
yeah, I thought she appeared before that though, and that was like a newer version of her. But you're probably right. I just was mistaken. But anyways, it's really good and it's worth watching. So if you can find it, what's
it called? Is it called Count of Monte Cristo?
The Count of Monte Cristo. Yeah. Okay. And I have since been trying to watch like all different versions because there's a lot of adaptations because it's not copywritten work anymore because it was written so long ago. But there's like a bunch of films and TV series and stuff, so I'm kind of going through all those right now. Okay.
Shade number 1.
There we go.
Shade number 1.
And then Awesome Stuff is Firestorm 35 and 38. I think that's for Weasel and Frost, I think, or something like that. But yeah. Anyways, that's all I got. You got anything?
I'm gonna have my membership drive thing coming up on probably Wednesday, I guess.
Oh, nice.
15th, so
for the next drawing?
Yeah. So the one of the books, I'm pretty sure. I had been hemming and hawing, but yeah, I'm going to put up a first Lobo.
Wow.
So,
well, I'm glad to be a member still of your organization, and I will gladly tune into that.
Yeah, so that'll be one of the things.
Highly recommend joining up on the old Big B membership. If you don't, well, I mean, I guess it's better odds for me, but. Yeah, I've got a 9.8 Omega Men 3 that I'm debating selling at this point because the money's just seems like it's worth it.
What's the 9.8 going for now?
Last I haven't looked in about a week, but last I saw was like 4.25 or so.
There you go.
I was waiting for it to get to like 5 or 6. But if it gets that high, I might do it. So,
There you go.
just because my logic is I think I could rebuy it for less than that in the future if I really wanted to.
Right. Travis and I were just having this discussion the other weekend, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna give one away. He's like, now's the time to sell. I'm just gonna give one away.
Well, I mean, it's also if you're trying to drive up interest and reward your members, it's a good time to do that too.
Yeah.
So as we head out the show here, the last show on the EXP, which we're also streaming on, by the way, as well as on Big B and Maya's channel on Bronze Age Nerd again. Go sub up. Those links are in the description below. The last show on the EXP is going to be Kicking It with Henri. You can catch that at 10 Eastern, 9 Central. Another great sales show on the EXP, one I've personally bought from before and had a really great experience with Henri. He's a cool dude, comic book writer as well, and somebody who I recommend going and checking out. So go check out Kicking It with Henri at 10 Eastern, 9 Central, 7 Pacific if you want to go buy some comic books tomorrow on the EXP. He's got some great stuff. Good dude. And with that, we are going to get out of here. Have a good night. Have a safe week, everybody. We'll catch you next week.